duo lane is no more, but Key has a lot of experience, and we know he has champions beyond the first two. One day, the Bard. One day, we will see.
One day. Sometime soon, hopefully. I mean, if there's a matchup to do it, this would be it, right? Up against a struggling bot lane in Root and Kellen, but we'll have to wait and see what exactly he wants to pick with a couple of target bans. Urgot still really up towards the top in terms of win rate for a very often played champion at 64%. Pretty gross. We might even have that ultra exciting top of the line Urgot versus Sion matchup if it does get locked in.
This is definitely one of those drafts that's just been very obvious because Urgot is locked in after the Akali. That means Sion has to come out for Jin-yeong. That's the right way to go, and it's also Lindarang's most played champion. It's also his only victory champion. It's also 1 and 5. So unfortunately, the longer you talk about Jin-yeong, the more likely you're going to end up at a negative because the positives are quite surface level.
Yeah, it's unavoidable when you're playing up against a team that is still looking for their first win. At least they've won one game.
Yes, they've won a game.
One game against Gen Z. The rest of them have been 0-2s. So looking to start with another win and then maybe 2 in a row. That would be nice to see, but they're going to be going up against bonO's Lee Sin. Returns to the Rift tonight. He looked good on that the first time.
Feels like we have 3 Lee Sin players, and that's it. Clid, bonO, and also one more on top of that. Peanut that was escaping me for a moment. So we have 3 Lee Sin players and no one else really moving over to it. So bonO gonna get some coverage bans as well. Could see Jin-yeong just putting Malrong on something like the Nocturne. He has defaulted to Xin Zhao duty for the majority of the time. People will take level 6 junglers into Lee Sin quite reliably. If he wants to go for, okay, I win skirmishes, you could ban Jax away. It's a Malrong favorite, and Olaf is already banned for other strong skirmishing junglers. He'll go for a pretty similar poison in the Camille, so just trying to find a way to ensure he has 2v2, 3v3 advantage over the enemy jungler.
Doesn't seem like people are happy enough to ban out the Jax just yet. Maybe if it finds more and more success as we go along. Sangyoon laughing at the 280 carry bans, and then he just locks in Vlad.
And that was the way you go, right? They ban away Ezreal Ashe. They're the sort of compositional answers to something like the Kai Sun. That was Sangyoon's way. You like to go the Vladimir in situations like this, so that will be his fallback pick. Also a very famous pick for Tempt, but with Lissandra and Urgot already locked in, very unlikely that it will be anything other than bot lane Vladimir. Jin-yeong need to find a jungler, and it might be one that really only Canyon has been playing reliably this season. It's going to be the Kazakhs who can find the drop on Lee Sin. This is all about the first Q, I think, in this matchup. Whoever hits it first can usually, from there, thread forward some lethal damage. So squishier in the jungle because they do have the Sion as a front line. And how about some beef to round out the comp here? Very standard stuff from the side of Jin-yeong, but it might just draw the new age, Papa's least favorite 2v2 lane in Vladimir Shen.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention the Alistar too. It's 2-9 right now. He's a sad cow for now. Still looking for some more wins, and unfortunately might meet some more losses tonight. We'll have to wait and see if Kellen can round that out. It will be his first time in this split playing the Alistar.
And let me present you just the worst Siege comp in the history of Siege. They have no range. Vladimir and Lissandra battling out there in terms of auto range. Urgot, I guess, also similar. They're only about dive. This is very much 1-3-1 with Shen ult to combo and Lee Sin flying in. Or, we got 10,000 gold lead, let's press R buttons on people and dive. That's all they have here. So not a balanced team comp here. Very much only about team fight. Meanwhile, Jin-yeong can do a lot of stuff on their side. They have team fight as well. The Akali doesn't have anyone to dive, and Akali's kind of the big losers. Damn, was that a late swap.
That was 21 seconds. I mean, they did it right at the last second, literally.
It leads to a difficult lane for Akali over time, but probably going to try to farm it out. Team fights are what you want to avoid, and remember, the team fights aren't necessarily going to be time spot specific because it's a very weak 2v2 lane to get to a comp that only team fights, and that's where, to me, it kind of feels like the payoff for quite an expensive buy-in is actually lower than I would expect for something that is Vladimir Shen that doesn't really do much in the 2v2. However, there's no sustain for the Kai'Sa, and finding a way to find lifesteal outside of maybe a Legends bloodline, not going to be trivial for the Kai'Sa.
Excited to get into this one, see if Jin-air can actually fight back up against Hanwha Life, who have also been struggling. So it would be the moment for Hanwha Life to try to turn it around and say, yeah, we were playing strong teams, but this time around, we'll show you where our true power is at. Excited for another bonO game on Lee Sin as well. Will be a second of the split. Looks like we're ready to jump into game number 1, guys, so hold on to your seats. Jin-air versus Hanwha Life is coming at you right now.
Get comfortable seats too, because could be a long one.
Move it to the bed if you can. That might be better. So, the series begins. Jin-air, not League of Jin-air. Jin-air versus Hanwha Life. Going head-to-head this time around. I think this is only my second time casting Jin-air, if I'm not mistaken. I remember you and I did the Stomperino. That was Griffin versus Jin-air.
Well, you could be in for anything, Valdez, is what I'll tell you about Jin-air. You knew that. Jin-air and their reputation is something that everyone around the world knows, even if they don't always opt into watching the games. I'm a big fan of casting Jin-air. You know you'll see something, or if you have a lot of discussion about movies or any business to attend to, you'll always find something to talk about in a Jin-air series.
And Atlas did mention it on Twitter and on Cast that actually I have a bit of a streak going.
Oh, really? Tell me about it.
I have not cast one series that went to Game 3. Every single series I've cast has ended 2-0, and that continues tonight. I mean, the first series I was thinking, hey, we're going to be broken in Game 2. Dom 1 looks like they're going to take Game number 2 and we go to Game 3. Well, that didn't happen, as Kingzone did just shut them out 2-0 once again. So Valdez's streak continues, and we'll see if Jin-air get a win in Game 1. That could mean they go for the 2-0, Papa.
Well, Valdez, there's a couple of things to talk about. When it comes to records, Jin-air really good at breaking those. And when it comes to lane assignments, Hanwha Life breaks the expectation here. They want to force Lissandra versus Akali in any lane, and that means Tempt is going top. Thal roaming through mid here. Can't really be as harass heavy, so the Urgot doesn't beat the Sion as hard in the mid lane. Sion is much happier in the short lane, but the Lissandra and do her pressure top side early before Akali has really any threat. She holds the white flag till level 6, so that is the decision made by Hanwha Life.
They find a way to make this Akali versus Lissandra matchup happen as Sangyoon takes a bunch of damage in the bottom side. Vladimir early on has to be careful, especially when you're going up against the Alistar.
They're going to try this. Come on. Come on.
Oh, he wants it. The flash goes away, and there's the W into the combo as First Blood goes to Jin-air and Ki. Oh, no, Kellen. You stepped in range, but you stay alive. They want more, and there it is, the double kill. Tae-hoon comes in the bottom lane.
There's nothing I love more than Vladimir and Shen being punished in the 2v2. These guys can't fight. In the early game, well diagnosed by Jin-air, and look at this. 2 kills to the good for Jin-air Green Wings.
Really nice read. I mean, Malrong on the bottom side of the map after going red into the enemy jungle makes it happen.
I wasn't aware if Sangyoon showed E. He obviously had shown E. That's why they go for this dive. It was either that or he just used his pull, right? And they had a long cooldown on it. They knew he had E, so the turret dive was always going to be reliable. A secondary kill. Everything comes together. And Coach Han, watch this. The very rare positive reaction from the Jin-air coaching booth.
He looks surprised. He's like, wow, guys, that's a great play.
I mean, at least he's probably going to be ready for the heartbreak later. So he's at least got appropriate emotions.
Yeah, I mean, I said it the last time I casted Jin-air. It always feels like Malrong does something great and gets First Blood for his team, and then everything falls apart. So I hope I'm proven wrong this time around as Thal gonna be knocked around the bouncy castle of the Alistar as another kill goes the way of Jin-air.
The Glad plane, is that what I see around the corner?
Peeking over the hill.
We got a roof here, so I can't see it in the skies, but who knows? Maybe it's coming for a visit. Nice early game here from Jin-air. They've been able to be on the sidelines for a bit, so they are able to try to put something together. It's not their first game of the week, but Some of their matches have just been kind of one note and thus been out of it early. And Malrang from ahead is so different from Malrang when he makes a mistake. No mistakes here. He dives in. Thal has flash, but really no time to use it. And because Kellen didn't need to use his summoner early, he's ready to flash in, and suddenly it's 3 kills to the good. That streak of yours, Valdez.
Yeah, I know. I said it before.
What if it extended with a 2-0 Genev victory?
That's what I was saying. I mean, it could definitely happen. After this early game, things are looking up and up. As Malrang getting in here, as they see him on the ward. Q comes in, and in goes bonO, interestingly enough. He's going to have to get to safety, but Root already... Oh, nice dodge on the stun there, on the taunt, rather, as Key is going really deep, 1v3. Can he get to the plant? Oh, he got knocked out of the wall. He got knocked out of the sky.
Kellen, you beast! Headbutted him away from safety.
There it is. The Glad Plane's flying high in this early game.
Everyone around here. Look, it's not a full house, but there is a good amount of people on a Friday night to see Jin-air versus Hanwha Life. They're all a bit dumbfounded because Jin-air's putting Hanwha Life to the sword.
There's a lot of murmuring going on in the studio as nobody seemed to expect this.
All right, okay, this is happening. Let's update our RAM here. It feels like we need to go for a firmware update, some extra things happening. So let's talk about what happens here. bonO is a red skin next to the red Infernal, so it's actually hard to spot, and comes in from a nice angle to get the first little engage. Shen goes into but misses that. Like you say, Kellen should be respected for the dodge rather than just the miss. And then Key's kind of like, well, I'm probably boned. I'm probably dead here. I'm going to try and get out. But watch the headbutt out of the air. Watch this. Goes for the blasting back, slow motion, and then boom shakalaka. And he, of course, doesn't get over the fat part of the wall. It's all about the calculation. He's not 50% over. He's, in fact, 50% staying in on the left side of the screen. Nicely done to Jin-air. They continue, and this cow is mad. He's got all kill involvements, does Kellen.
I love the extra dramatic slowdown, too, from the observers. Well done, as he was waiting for the plant. He knew he could knock him out of it. And so far, Kellen, we didn't see it, but my suspicion is the reason that Sangyoon got low in the first place, in the first couple of kills, is because he got Alistair comboed, and that was Kellen's positioning. Then they're able to dive because he's so low. Once again, Kellen shows up on the Alistair. This guy is having a nice game, and we have talked about how both Root and Kellen very high up on the solo queue ladder. It hasn't really shown in some of their stats here in the LCK in terms of wins, but these guys are definitely very strong players.
I assume that's why Jin-air and me, by association, don't want to write them off, is that there clearly is talent here, and they have no professional games behind them, really, to speak of, Kesper Cup, into this tournament, so it's definitely understandable for players to come in and not look so good at the start. I mean, Hanwha Life, as an org, kind of signs a lot of these players who they believe has more upside than they may have shown in the LCK. Thal fits there, Tempt. I think started pretty strong, but it was in Challenger, and when he was replacing previous mid laner Athena. bonO fits that to a T. Sangyoon and Key didn't have great starts in LCK either, so they're very much about upside, and Root and Kellen trying to show off some upside, and Kellen back in the team I like. I'm surprised not to see Stitch, but because Nova and Root seems to not be playing towards a duo that spent a lot of time scrimming together, going back to at least a recognized duo has some merit. And that is an unfortunate reset.
Yeah, and they spent a lot of time to try to make that happen, and they're going to lose an Infernal for it, so...
Oh, can you reset again, Lindarang? That would be so true.
Get in there.
Smite's down. Oh! Oh. Now that would have been the epic tilt. Not very levels of tilt there. And this is, again, the Papa Smithy special. He's so happy. I'm talking about myself in the third person. That's how happy I am to see Vlad and Shen put to the sword. Duo lane sucks. Really annoying. Really poor in the first 9 levels. And get that work done early, because yes, it gets to a really good place. Yes, you can play 1-3-1 with Shen. That feels great. Vladimir team fighting, that feels great. You should not get out of lane without a significant disadvantage, and 3 deaths, a pretty good start.
Just trying to make a couple of pieces work, and maybe the lane they're not supposed to. Now they're looking for a dive here with no minions.
That ult was so early.
Yeah. You were mentioning tilt levels. These guys across the board, not looking at their peak performance tonight.
You're looking at the right side of the screen. I'm seeing peak Jin-air on the left side.
Yeah.
Kellen's never looked better.
I would agree. This might be his best game yet.
Again, not a lot of competition there. Guys, we're not going to be giving you any, like, they're back now. But, is it LCK without Jin-air in it? It's never happened before. They have been there for the entire of the LCK era. We're not talking including champions.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jin-air as a sponsor entered later than some of the other big orgs, but it's always been LCK since spring 2015 with Jin-air doing their Jin-air thing. Right now, at least, pushing up the bot lane, continuing to go. So I said that's a lot of turret plates. Happy times, 2,000 gold lead. And the plates are doing an assistant. No plates in other lanes, but remember Hanwha Life were the ones who said, these are the lanes we want, and got no plates out of it. So you'll definitely take that if you're Jin-air, and it's another Comet Scion. We've already seen that 100 CS disadvantage be damned. You get the right ultimates in, you start the Scion Speedway going, and it can be fine.
It can be fine, but you look at Kai'Sa, already has Stormrazor. 2 kills and a bounty plus all those plates means that she must have the most gold in this game so far. So, Root could be the carry in this game. Picked up Cleanse this time around. Just doesn't want to have to deal with all the CC on the side of Hanwha Life as a team, including the Shen in the bottom lane.
It also makes a 2-item power spike stronger because you can go for the standard Stormrazor into Rageblade. You can look for that swoop in, and even if you've waited out the Frozen Tomb, you'll also have Cleanse for any other Lissandra CC, so you don't need a QSS, for example, for a 2.5 item build. So, loving it. It makes your 2v2 weaker, but they're getting kills in the 2v2. And bonO will get the charge on top side while the gold is still available, but it's going to be at the cost of bottom turret.
Question is which one of these goes down first. You can see bonO and Tempt really getting in there. There's the ultimate. It comes down with Lindarang. Dodges everything, but you can't dodge the ignite. Tries to do a nice amount of damage on the backside, but the turret will go the way of the blue team in the bottom side first. So at least they get that first blood turret.
Flash was wasted, but otherwise Lindarang did a good job of buying time and everything invested from Hanwha Life to follow this. That means that Sangyoon's not even there to pretend to trim a wave. Not going to do too much against the trio he's against, but let's see how much turret damage comes in because they know Vladimir is at least 5-6 seconds away. They're going to get it.
Yep, they're going for it, and honestly, Vlad still quite slow, is not going to get there on time, and just so much gold in the pockets of the Kai'Sa right now at 12.5 minutes. She picks up another turret, all the CS, and all the plates in the bottom side. It's just, she's having fun right now.
Let's watch the replay here and watch Lindarang try to problem solve what ends up being 4 members in the top side. No counterplay to the flash ult as Shen came in. Don't know about the flash here, even with Sion coming in. Maybe you cheese a key kill if Sion is there and you're not quite so low, but Ignite is up. It takes a couple of extra tools, so at the end of the day, you absorb resources, you absorb time, you go back to the top side as the Akali, and the Kai'Sa's got 100 AD already, so already has transformation. On the first item here, she's going to be battle ready nice and early. Let's have one bit of pause. It's Jin-air. Jin-air are a team with only a game win, and what you've gotten is a very long bot lane, which is actually very hard to translate into immediate objectives. When you take an inner turret, it can just really be the gold of the inner turret, not actually use the minion wave pushing there. So actually, sort of area where they might lose a wave of farm if they don't play out the game state well. Let's see if they can be proactive around the Sion and Alistar while the waves push in.
Second Infernal coming onto the map here. Jin-air would love to steal this one away, trying to go in on bonO. And Malrang used his smite there. He's going to get a second one back in just a moment.
Jin-air only win games when the enemy nexus explodes. That's not just a very obvious point. It's the sign that this team deserves the most doubt when it comes to results. This is not an unassailable lead. In fact, it's 1,000 gold largely being worn by the Kai'Sa and with some other members a bit behind, while everything was stacked on the Kai'Sa. So, I'm alive. We know the Vladimir only gets relevant from 9. Teamfight relevant a little bit later. Level 9 is hit. He's picking up CS, and the game is far from won by the Jin-air Green Wings.
Yeah, nobody get excited, that's for sure. We all know what happens when that happens, even if you're watching a Jin-air series, as total control of the bottom side river does go the way of Hanwha Life for now. You do have TP on Lindarang. They could try to collapse here. As in comes Grace, gonna grab position. TP's coming in, but Sion's still not that tanky. Actually uses his ult to get away from position, and now Kellen in a bit of trouble. Does get the nice knockup, but he's not tanky enough yet, as he will go down. Looks like Jin-air are gonna have to run away with their tails between their legs and give away that Infernal. So they will trade 1 for 1 as Hanwha Life get a nice win there.
Big misplay on the engage. Felt like they didn't know how to play around Grace's flanking position. They were too late. They didn't walk up fast enough so Hanwha Life could start the Drake. And then it was just, you know, a frontliner dying to 4 people. So that's the sort of thing that can happen when your team is low on confidence, when your set pieces haven't been working, and I would imagine in scrims and in pro play. Watch this play and think about how different this would be if that was Sion played by, for example, Sword. If that was even Pawn, who was really pretty good about knowing his timings. He ults away when he could be ulting in. The rest of the team's coming from all directions. Lindarang's TP is late, and in the end, it ends up being a free kill and the Drake to Hanwha Life.
Team miscoordination, as you mentioned, and does look not so good when you look at it, especially in the slow-mo replay, as it was one guy going in, having to flash away, essentially, or use his ult to get away, and then another guy goes in, and it's just really, really messy. So Jin-air, definitely one big team fight to look at, and hopefully learn a lot from when they go back to the drawing board.
And you're probably not aware of this, but you were actually very descriptive of Jin-air games in their losses. It's a lot of one guy goes in. It's a lot of not even needing nameplates and not a 5-man decision. It's Man-heung with a weird Rift Herald. It's a mistake. It's someone caught in transition. It's very much a new team of players coming together who haven't played together and looking at, you know, really looking like they're outsiders to win any game. And that's the reality Jin-air have to contend with, and what we also have to expect until we see different. Because again, good early game, smart moves, 4 kills to 0. But now, 2 kills back. Now, an Infernal back, and now a 600 gold lead. All that Jin-air has to show for themselves.
Sometimes it is easy to, you know, roll one gank and find that option when it's kind of linear. Okay, this lane is pushed up. I can grab a gank here. This looks good. You get it, and then you do that. But then once the team play aspect comes in and you have to play as a team and play macro in the mid game, sometimes Jin-air just appears to fall apart. So we'll see if they can change that as we move along.
And again, if this is Sword with Righteous Glory and the Magic Resist first item Spectre Scout and 2-item Kai'Sa at 17 minutes, you're already thinking, damn, Griffin's running away with this one. Because of the nameplates here, are they going to team fight and not actually set up the Killer Instinct for the Kai'Sa? Is there going to be another kind of comedy of errors in some of the setups? Or are they just going to split the map, as they are right now, against Shen, and just lose out before they can combo the good pieces that should represent skirmish and teamfight victories? If you look at the evidence right now, we're kind of waiting for Jin-air to make a mistake, and that's unfortunately, I say unfortunately because I like to see teams with the momentum and the smart moves actually move forward. But right now, Hanwha Life can sit back and just farm on Vladimir and wait for the pin to drop.
That's exactly what they're doing. Just throw Lissandra into a side lane, eventually get his TP back, have the rest of them in the mid lane. Sangyoon is totally safe here. Just farm up. And for now, there are no objectives, just a Cloud Drake coming up in about 2 minutes here. Nobody's going to be rushing down a Baron, so the game will extend. Would it look so much better if Jin-air, as you're mentioning, their item timings and a second Infernal, maybe even a couple of kills off the early lead that they got, and they deny Hanwha Life even trying to, you know, go into that Infernal Drake.
Again, a different game. The Vision's put up control ward. Sion's sitting in it, waiting to either cue someone as they walk up and the Killer Instinct to come in with 2-item Kai'Sa. Instead, Kai'Sa's trimming waves against Vlad, who's getting all the minions. So Vlad's getting a free laning phase, which he shouldn't have. He ain't got no turrets in the bot. They were both taken ages ago, but that doesn't matter. Now it's a long lane, and like we mentioned, Jin-air has probably lost CS because of the long lane and bot, because they haven't been able to actually force people to fight elsewhere or push in the minion wave and make roams happen with the Sion. And again, this is what happens when it's a team short of confidence, short of victories. Scenarios like this where you're not getting any advantages and Hanwha Life's getting back into the game.
Definitely don't like to see a lot of great mechanical and just smart plays happen in the early game just to have the team kind of fall apart after a couple of lost plays in transition. So we'll see if Jin-air can turn things around. They do have still the Fed Kai'Sa with red buff right now. Maybe they can make another fight happen over the Cloud Drake, and this time for real. We'll see if they can, you know, actually get a couple kills.
Sion's top side can speedway through, but not that much vision
Lindarang's
here.
on a ward right now, so is just going to get engaged upon by the Lysandra. Rest of the team coming in. He has to flash away. Here comes Sion from the river, but you're not going to be able to drift that far as Hanwha Life easily are able to disengage.
And that's what happens when you drift when you don't have river control, is that more often than not it'll come up short and becomes more about Lindarang using ult than being out of the fight. Here's engage.
Okay, they are going to get the Shen in the front line. A nice amount of burst damage, but now Malrong has to hop away. Grace still in the front line. Will miss his stun, but the rest of Hanwha Life will have to go away, so at least a team fight win here for Jin-air.
They'll get the Drake. Like you say, they win the pressure war. They have Sion in the front line, but no Kai'Sa ability to push damage onto members as, okay, this is happening. Why is Lindarang here?
I mean, he doesn't have his flash. He doesn't have vision in the enemy jungle.
Nope.
He's going to be trying to take out Tempt, and he does have a nice amount of speed boost, but Tempt hanging around is going to eventually get the kill with Thal, as an unfortunate mistake will be the trade for the Cloud Drake.
Just so far up in that long lane, and isn't it, it's not the prophet I wanted to be, but this long lane is working against Jin-air. They got the 2 turrets, but they just haven't worked out their lane assignments, and they get caught halfway down with their hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah. And we all know that Jin-air, as a team, just struggling across the board. Again, they've only taken 1 game win so far, and there is a reason why. It's part of the fun with League of Legends that it's actually a complex game as a team, to the point where it's obvious when better teams are playing up against worse teams. But, I mean, at the same time, Hanwha Life, they, from the hype of the beginning of LCK, everybody was getting excited that they looked better than they actually appeared on paper. But to come in here against Jin-air and, I would have to say, kind of play down to their level, also doesn't look fantastic for their team in this game, at least.
Whatever the result of game number 1, I want to see agency in the bot side and actual proactivity rather than just, well, the enemy messed up more than we did. And that's the reason that we had the result we did. Right now, Hanwha Life just kind of taking a free ride through the early game that should have been so thorny for them. For them to be only 100 gold down is actually a victory for Vladimir Shen, so it lets you know that things are going way better than expected. Grace is very tanky, but bonO's here.
Nice timing there, and the ult gets out of ult from the Lysandra.
Malrong speeding his way top lane. That Urgot's got exhaust. Good luck with that one.
I would assume the Kha'Zix has Moby Boots as he's sprinting to the top side. Does have a Cloud Drake too.
Confirmed. Moby Boots in there. Not so much of it recently, but of course the R-Evolve days were full of, I should say, the Boots mobility. Still is R-Evolve now, even though the ability is very different to when it had the perma stealth through brushes that was definitely very annoying. Top side, Thal's a level up and a tanky boy on the Urgot. No magic resist in the build, but happy enough with the lane assignment. Jin-air poke around the Baron. Baron damage pretty good, Kai'Sa and Kha'Zix, but no tankiness between the two, and they kind of need Sion there to make something happen, but Sion split pushing, and Hanwha Life get a lot of time to wait on this because it's a long lane and no threat onto a structure for a while.
Hanwha Life continued to twiddle their thumbs, and now they're just leaving Sangyoon kind of alone in the mid lane, which turns out to be fine as Vlad is getting some items. He's level 12 here, feeling pretty good. Shen and Lee Sin can return, but a couple of recalls, and Jin-air actually will come in. Will be pushed away by the Hemoplague as Sangyoon says, get the hell away from my turret.
Purely disengaged use of the ultimate there. No one lying in wait for the dive. Only good news for Jin-air is that, for Hanwha Life, sorry, is that Jin-air are parking Grace spot lane. After we saw Lindarang taken down, it's Grace getting those extra minion waves, pushing in the minions. You're fine with that because Sion, yes, will get a bit more tanky, but you want to keep Akali as anemic as possible and not allow her to get those extra CS on the bottom side of the map with there being no turrets there from Hanwha Life. So right now, that assignment fits Hanwha Life just fine. Ult's down, but not going to be punished. And Vladimir seems likely to hit that Noguri death cap second without too much interruption after all.
Malrang, you gotta love Kha'Zix when he picks up a Duskblade, especially with Moby Boots. You just hop in, slash at 2 control wards, use your sweeper, your scanner, you go in there, you take out a couple of wards, and immediately deny a bunch of vision. The only thing is that Hanwha Life had some crazy vision around the Baron. They still have 4 wards up around that area, even after all that clear.
Want this turret? Are they actually gonna try the dive? Grace is a big boy.
That he is, and he will have his ultimate denied for now. Turns out he is too thick for them to handle.
Confirmed too thick.
Just like the pork we had for dinner.
I liked it,
a little bit too much fat on the edges. I wasn't a big fan.
Samgyeopsal is always great, in my book. Pork belly.
Tastes okay.
Well, the belly of the beast here is my worry that Vladimir will just carry this game.
What a transition.
Thank you.
This is what we pay you for, Papa.
I'm a wordsmith. You know it. My last name's Smith.
There you go. Papa Smith. Born and raised.
Why? At the end of that one, to make the Papa Smithy. Sangyoon can still find a mid-game fight and kill Root. I actually am not sure if he has Hex Drink or more Mounted Mortius. I'm assuming not. And getting him low in the mid lane. Let's see what happens here. We got the zoom out.
The answer is, most of the time, unfortunately, that nothing happens. As Hanwha Life still hanging on, waiting for that Vlad to get really, really big. And side of Jin Air still struggling to make anything happen with their very strong Kai'Sa. You were mentioning the Maw. It is complete.
Get the confirmation there. That means that 5v5 fight is probably still an item or 2 away. If this is Ruler, you do see some reliability in late game Kai'Sa team play. And Root's had some decent moments on Kai'Sa. We remain to be convinced that he can pull off a Ruler team fight here, but the ultra late game, always the chance that Kai'Sa just decides the game straight up.
So, nice read here by Tempt. Not sure if he saw him on a ward. The ping did go down onto one of the wards, so I assume he did, but backs away on the turret as Malrang just has to show himself, and Jinner, in fact, will pick up another turret in the top side, so they are getting some objectives as the game rolls along here.
So far, only the easy ones, and they need a game breaker. They need a Baron. That would be ideal on the side of Jin Air, and then they could go for a lot of Baron and dive threat, with the Baron. So the Scion zoom in. Speaking of zooming in, Hanwha Life coming from multiple directions. We still haven't seen piggyback plays with the Shen like you might have imagined, but only recently as he pinged level 11 for his ultimate to be a bit more there for playmaking, and right now at least, just about the ARAM in mid lane as everyone's getting farmed. Feel like the Vladimir's feeling pretty good about that.
Thal has his back interrupted, takes 0 damage on his way out. Good old Scion and Urgot. Just unbelievably tanky.
What did Jin Air have? An amazing triangle, Valdez, of vision around Baron. Hanwha Life are on backs. This should be a free mid lane turret, and maybe even more. They walk up.
Okay, this time maybe for real. They want to get on top of Kellen here in the backside, but bonO gets low. He's going to try to win the fight against Malrang, who does go golden on the backside. Here comes Lindarang. But you can see that key getting low as well. Root into the backside, takes out 2. Somehow, someway, he's so fed, but he is going to make it happen. Tempt somehow as well gets the kill and gets the bounty, and now it looks like Thal and bonO are trying to get in the backside. The flash comes in, and he does go down. Nice calculation, I'd like to say, by Grace to make that happen even through the shield, as a wonky one does, in fact, go the way of Jin Air.
I guess it was minion aggro at the end. Didn't really spot how it actually got the final kill. If Lindarang's there early, that's just a rout from Root, as he was so far in the back line, doing so much damage. We watched the replay again. Everyone's on backs on the enemy team. The TP comes in early. Really good TP coming in by Tempt in the back line, and because Lindarang's there so late, so far behind the play, there's actually almost lethal damage on Malrang already. Watch Root and how long he survives. You assume he's dying in the grinder, but he ults up and then is able to hoover out damage. He's so strong already. At this item breakpoint, it should have been a more one-sided victory. It's not, and all that's left to understand is how bonO actually died. He's taking huge minion aggro, and it is minions that take him down.
Yeah. Couple of them on the backside. Good old hero ranged minions as we did cut away from Sion about to be interrupted on his recall.
Censored.
He didn't die. He's totally fine, so there you have it. Looks like Zeeks is also finished here for the Alistair. Just put that onto Root, so even more
good
team fight potential and damage that could come out. Like to see that.
I'm down with that, Valdez, and Root is not down with magic damage. QSS on top does mean the Hurricane's not there. You wonder if in that last fight, Hurricane for the last 4 or 5 rounds of auto attacks, and maybe there all those people go down. The Sion, comically tanky already, so can basically just isolate himself for days, and if you can isolate Vlad away, which is very hard to do, we'll just kind of pull past the Sion. That's already an objective in and of itself. Double QSS, and remember, you can QSS the CC effect of the Urgot ult, and thus, the Fear Beyond Death does not arm.
Kellen himself, I mentioned the Zeeks, but he also has a stopwatch, so it's definitely a big moment for Jin Air to get on in there. It looks like they know about this one. Hanwha Life gonna come in and check. The TP's already coming in. Kellen waiting in the side, gets a huge 2-man knockup in the backside.
Root.
And that means Root now going very aggressive into this team fight. Big knockup once again as Kellen gets 4, but they do burst down the Kaisa as he was just too aggressive into the backside. And that means a double kill now to Lissandra, make it a triple kill. As unfortunately this time around, Jin Air not able to pilot that team fight to victory, and Hanwha Life will take it big time.
That triangle of vision is gone. The extra ward gets in. It's a standard one as well, Valdez. Everyone should check for the Baron vision. They're even in solo queue, you put it out, but it gives all the information. The TP, beautiful, into the back line, and Jin Air done messed it up. It will be Hanwha Life with the first Baron of the game.
Yep, it goes the way of Hanwha Life, and they saw it coming. You think, Kellen, wow, great position. Maybe he can make something happen, and he does, but then Root goes straight on in.
I mean, Root plays this fine. He does what he needs to do, kicked away. That's the burst damage there, but he doesn't have Hurricane. He's out of the fight right now, and watch the CC that Sion gets in this fight. He does so much CC, especially just before this moment. You watch it back, but unfortunately, Root not there to feast on it. Vladimir under no threat. They got backline access because unfortunately the wards were not swept out. That's what happens, and unfortunately Jin Air, they pay for a big but standard mistake. Hanwha Life with the gold lead, and Vladimir primed to just take over this game. Man-heung just really was out of this fight.
You know what I think happened? I saw at the beginning of the replay, he was getting low, it looks like, from the Baron, and he actually went north. He went away from the fight. And the reason why, part of the reason why Root Killer Instincted over to the right side is because there were 2 beefy tanks right in his face that he couldn't really do damage to, and he didn't have Man-heung to back him up. So overall, just a team fight, kind of team loss, I would say, there to the side of Jin Air, as you can't really pinpoint the blame onto one person. And Hanwha Life keep their cool, even amongst all that CC, and Kellen having good positioning. They make that team fight comp of theirs work. It's magic. Now they have a 4-0-4, but it is very found in this game as Tempt is having a blast on the Lissandra with 4 items already.
Sort of game where if Hanwha Life win, which right now is looking likely, don't think the coach is going to be too happy about how they played out this game. Just a bit of relief, you would say. And have been gifted a couple too many things, and now Sangyoon has Death Cap, soon to be Void Staff. Yes, Root has his Hurricane, but the Baron kind of is the door closer to Hanwha Life's comp because they have very, very short-ranged wave clear, and now with the Baron, they're even more incentivized to go for those dives, and it plays around their woeful siege as well. So they kind of got more than they deserve. They never even had to make the Shen teleports onto a side lane play. Instead, it kind of fell into their laps, and now Jin Air, we watch on and see, can they problem solve a way to get back into game number 1?
Well, understandably, I'm not too positive that that can happen.
Shen split pushing, baby.
I wonder what his items are.
He doesn't have a Sunfire.
He's just autoing straight up. He's literally just there as a Baron bot. He's not just a ward bot. He's just sitting there with Baron buff. That's his job.
He's Shen bot for now, but if he does the right ult, that's way more than a Shen bot can usually do.
True. Very true.
Auto pushing bot side with Shen bot. Rest of the team kind of thinking, I don't know if Hanwha Life feels strong enough to dive. I think maybe they should. Jin-air should not offer any fight outside of the safety, or relative safety, of a turret. Shen pushes down. A support is drawing the Akali. That's happy times for Hanwha Life.
Feels like whatever Jin-air do, they have to rely on Root staying alive and doing consistent damage. And here it comes, the Righteous Glory. Trying to knock up an Urgot, but again, it is an Urgot with a stone plate.
They get the Dragon Rage kick, though. Is used by bonO, so at least a tool basically for free. Shen backs away, happy with all his levels. From the split pushing on the bot side, confirmation he had nothing resembling a Sunfire Cape. Just using the Baron buff, like you mentioned. Again, I think dive is very ripe from the side. They even have Zonias on Vladimir, and some of our Vladimirs have been skipping over that to get even more damage. Here's the tail of the tape. Lets you know that Jin-air were winning until they weren't.
Yeah, it's the red mark on their record, basically. It's where they went wrong.
They don't really have much other than red marks in their record.
Yeah, even though they are the Jin-air Green Wings.
Yeah.
I don't think you can consider a name change at this point in the season, but maybe for summer. Could happen.
It's New Jerseys. That was the big thing for them this year. First time they abandoned the GBM style fake ties and went into a new look. And obviously the roster was almost completely new look. Only Grace started in Jin-air previously. Nova on the bench, but the league and the LCK is in a very weird spot. Right now it does feel like there's Griffin at the top, Jin-air at the bottom, and the rest of the team's kind of in some order in the middle. And the distance between Jin-air and the next team is looking larger and larger every time we see them play, even though there are moments where if you freeze it, say 5 minutes in, and you feel pretty excited about what Jin-air could be, what they are seems to be a different thing.
Yeah, he's talking about removing nameplates and all that stuff. You may think it's a different team when you see the way that Jin-air play in the early game, and then you turn it back on and you're like, uh-oh, here comes a weak mid-game, and couple of bad decisions later, here we are.
You know when you watch Griffin and their 8,000 gold against Hanwha Life, and you're still saying, what does that turn team fight look like? I can see it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Griffin have the glass half empty version. So yeah, Jin-air have the glass half empty version of that, where you kind of saw Baron not be executed very well. We kind of saw bot lane 2 turrets be more of a disadvantage than an advantage. It's just the hard stuff is looking really hard for Jin-air, and the LCK minimum to pick up a match victory is pretty high, whatever the power level is right now, and Jin-air just haven't been able to exceed minimums in every way, even if in some ways they're better than expected.
Yeah. That's why we always approach our cast with caution when we do get into this situation. Always have to keep in mind the history of the teams in this split and note, what their records are and how they've done so far and where their positives and negatives are.
Now all they can really do is all in. They have an initiation comp here, and there's the TP. It's right on top of Root.
Yep, right there in the front means he has to back away, and that does mean that Alistar in a lot of trouble in the front line, essentially alone, but in goes Lindarang into the back line, and here comes Root, finally has that moment. He's doing damage in the backside. There's a nice taunt from the side of Hanwha Life for Root. He's still alive, doing damage. They finally take him away. But Lindarang is still alive. Can he be the savior? No, it does not look like it. So unfortunate, but that was the one fight that Jin-air looked like they may have had a moment, but Root eventually did go down.
You see the health bars, and you know that if some of those mistakes weren't there, the damage would have been lethal. The kills would have come. And that's what a one-team fight looks like. It's not to be in game number 1. The TPs confirm it. We will see the game end here. Hard to see the noble Alistar and Kha'Zix stopping the game.
They'll give it their best shot. That's about all they got. Slow comes in. Kellen goes down.
Well, they might try. Here we go.
Balrog, he does have his GA. He's delaying for quite a while. Next person is Root at 10 seconds.
Shen. Who's going to win?
He's staying alive, actually. The Fear Beyond Death isn't going to kill him as he does take him away. Root 3 seconds, 2, 1. Can he make it in and stop this? They're just going to target the Nexus, and it looks like that's not going to be enough. Game 1 goes to the side of Hanwha. It was a hard-fought one by Jin-air, But Hanwha Life turned out to be the better team in the end.
No one smiling on Hanwha Life Esports. They know they pickpocketed a victory from someone who didn't have a lot of victories to give over Valdez. This is finding the kid that doesn't get a lot of pocket money and stealing the little bit that he has. Jun-yeong Greenwing started so well, but unfortunately, very quickly, it turned into a game like this. A bit of relief on the faces, and definitely a different approach in game number 2 needed, because that's not the look you want against a team that has no match victories come 3rd week of the season.
Well, what a game 1 we had. Jin Air looked fantastic for the first 5-10 minutes of the game. I say the same thing every time I cast them, but it's very true. These guys could just find a way to stop making mistakes in the mid-game. They could use some of their early leads that they do find a way to get very often, actually. And understandably, we don't get too many shots of the Jin Air side, as I'm sure